A lot of people are grieving. A lot of people are going through the loss of loved ones, whether that is a loss that has just recently happened or whether it's something that has happened some time ago that is still impacting you like it happened yesterday. The first thing that I wanted to share with you is to take your time. It's your time. It's not your neighbor's time. It's not your partner's time. It's not your sibling's time. It's not your spouse's time, your parents' time. It is your time. And it's your time for a reason. But I want to encourage you to take your time. Don't rush. This is new terrain. And if you didn't have feelings or love, if you didn't have love for the person that you lost, then there wouldn't be a grieving process. So, and it takes time. I personally believe that grief is a gift and it must be unwrapped in order to truly understand and appreciate it. But it's going to be the hardest package that you will ever unwrap in your life. Now, like I said, I want you to remember to take your time. But one of the things that I wish that someone would have told me sooner was that you don't have to stay there. But the thing that I want to leave you with is you don't have to stay in that space. It's not a permanent location. It's somewhere that you're staying at as you're grieving, as you're going through that particular stage. But you do not have to stay there. Stay there and take your time. But it's not somewhere that you need to make your home. What changed was my growth, my ability to now learn how to drive this vehicle, how to maneuver this vehicle. And the same is true of grief. I think that we grow as a result of that grief, which makes it more manageable. What changes is you. That's why it's important to take it one day at a time, because you're growing throughout this journey, whether it feels like it or not. Take it one day at a time. And sometimes you have to break that day down into the hours, into the minutes, into the seconds, just to reset. Next, I want to encourage you to speak to someone. And most importantly, it has to be an ear, a listening ear. Someone, you don't need answers, you don't need solutions. And if you're walking with someone who is grieving, you don't need solutions. They need an ear, somewhere where they can even just be heard. But I encourage you to make sure that you're using your voice. Don't give your voice away to silence. Use your voice and communicate with those around you. They may not understand, and in most cases, they will not understand. Especially, no one can 100% relate or understand what you're going through. And that's one thing you have to be aware of, because it's going to come out in your emotions throughout your journey. But I want you to challenge yourself just to lay those burdens at somebody's door. A friend, a family member, a partner, a therapist is fantastic and oftentimes may not have that access. But even if you are speaking with a therapist, it's also good to have an additional sounding board. And keep in mind that your usual suspects for communication might not be the same. The friends that you've had for decades might not be the same ones that you'd be able to turn to, although they may be the ones that you want to turn to. I still encourage you to find that space where your voice can be heard without bottling it up all inside. Because what happens is we keep all of it contained inside and it comes out at the wrong times, the wrong moments, the wrong seasons, and it begins to eat us up from the inside out. So I want to encourage you to speak to somebody. But the thing that I want to leave you with is you don't have to stay in that space. How long do you or should you stay in that season? Now, like I said, I want you to remember to take your time. But one of the things that I wish that someone would have told me sooner was that you don't have to stay there. You see, as you're going through this season, you might have even recognized certain habits that you might not be as so favorable of. There might be things that you don't like, certain emotions that are being triggered, certain habits that you might have picked up that you're really just not that wild about. And oftentimes people around us will enable us, for lack of better words, but they will allow us to operate in this unhealthy space because it makes sense to them how we could be going through what we're going through and responding in the way that we're responding. But the thing that I want to leave you with is you don't have to stay in that space. Think about it like a hotel versus your home. Grief is like the hotel or the season or the series or the layer of grief that you're in. It's not a permanent location. It's somewhere that you're staying at as you're grieving, as you're going through that particular stage. But you do not have to stay there. Stay there and take your time. But it's not somewhere that you need to make your home. When I was a child, my dad had this old F-150 pickup truck. It was black. It had bull horns on the front. And I always heard the legends of this truck, but I never saw it run. It never ran a day in my life. But it sat in my driveway for most of my childhood. When I was a kid, I used to get behind the wheel of this vehicle, and I would imagine I was driving across town or wherever I was going on my latest G.I. Joe adventure, but I wasn't going anywhere. As I look back at that memory, you know, the thing that never changed in that scenario was the size of the car. The F-150 never changed. It was the same F-150 as it always was. What changed was my size. What changed was my growth, my ability to now learn how to drive this vehicle, how to maneuver this vehicle. And the same is true of grief. Oftentimes people will say that it gets easier. Well, I disagree. I don't think that it gets easier. I think that we grow as a result of that grief, which makes it more manageable. We now have more wisdom, more experience to handle the situation. But losing that loved one is the same yesterday, today, as it was 5, 10, 20 years ago. That never changes. What changes is you. What changes is your ability to navigate the situation, the experience, and the trauma. That's why it's important to take it one day at a time, because you're growing throughout this journey, whether it feels like it or not.